know me. For those who don't, I've been in this role for about 5 years, and I bring lower no-cost programs to work sites within the Southeast. So it's all about connecting you to getting your needs met for your work site. So let's go ahead and get started on the employer panel. So I'm going to ask Sue Potvin from Family Services Association to come down and join us, as along with Tom Riley, please, from Better Community Living, and we have Aimone from Southcoast Health.
Okay, so this is going to be informal, and we encourage you to ask questions of the panel, but I've just taken some notes as we've gone around and introduced ourselves, and I'd like to touch on a few of the topics that were brought up, or a few of the challenges, and see if we can get some feedback from our panelists. So Kristi Aimone is the wellness coordinator for Southcoast Hospitals Group, and they have 7,400 employees, and as she said, not only for primary locations, but 45 offices. So I think one of the topics that we should probably talk about is how difficult it is to communicate across multi-locations. So I'm gonna send that question to you in a couple of minutes when I'm done. Sue Potvin has, Family Service Association has about 350 employees. Sue is Director of Quality. And so do either of you have a human resource role? Like, do you have other HR responsibilities, or are you focused on your wellness?
No. So I report to Comp and Benefits HR,
Okay.
but my position is wellness coordinator, so I'm sort of in my own department.
Okay. Out of the audience, just curious, how many of you are strictly wellness with no other HR responsibilities? Of course, when you have 7,400 employees, you need to be a little bit more focused. But I think one of the challenges that we have, and maybe Tom can also talk with that, is his program is developing, is that when you have other HR responsibilities, what happens to the wellness program? Does it go to the bottom of the pile when something else happens? Is it in your job description? Is it that much of a priority, at least that it says, this is what I do? And so Tom Riley is the Executive Director of Better Community Living, and he has about 220 employees, did you say? And you also just started, he has all these new names as part of being the Working at Wellness.
We just started with the WOW.
Yeah.
CBEC grant. We started about a year and a half ago, doing some small programs, dance for fitness, and then we did a mindfulness seminar for people, for helping them with stress and focus, and we did a series on that. People really responded well, and then we went on. Dara worked with us on bringing the diabetes program. We sponsored a diabetes program in the last year. We just finished that up, which was very successful. And then after, towards the end of that, we applied for the WOW grant. We just obtained that, and it looks very interesting. It looks very good. It's going to give us some structure, maybe give us some focus going forward. And we're bringing a team of people together, and we have like probably 15 different sites. We run small residential support programs for adults with developmental disabilities. So a lot of people are they work just at small sites, and they really very rarely come together as a big group, once or twice a year. And the communications is a challenge. I'll be interested in learning a little bit more about how that works.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's throw that ball out there. And Chris, you want to talk a little bit about the challenge of communications across?
Oh, there's no challenges. There's not one. Well, I think in our setting, with 7,400 employees in all different places, communication is a challenge. Sue and I were actually chatting about that when we first arrived this morning. We have a couple different ways that we communicate with our employees. Everyone has like Outlook email. Does everyone read email? Probably not. Does anyone else have that problem? Yes. Yeah. So we have that avenue. We have an e-newsletter that goes out twice per week. On Mondays, it's more of a general, a lot of different things going on at Southcoast. And then on Wednesday, it's strictly Health Quest, which is the name of our wellness program, and sort of benefit things that are coming up. So we have some, we had some prime real estate there, so that helps a lot. We do, boy, that's communication is just really so tough. It's getting people to read the emails, focus. The e-newsletter is great, but the problem is that, as many of you might know, once you get sort of past that fold on the screen, that information sort of gets lost. So it's how do you, present the information so it's attractive. And we try to change it up so that it's different information, because I think a lot of the times it becomes white noise. We also partner with Virgin Pulse, so there are wellness platforms, so there's ways that we can communicate within that platform as well. So I think probably, for me, the biggest bang for my buck is just really getting sort of back to the basics, face-to-face time. I think that's where, to me, that's where the draw is. It's making those sort of personal connections. It's easy to communicate through wellness or through emails and such, but I don't know that that's always the great way to captivate. And I'd say, you have to find other avenues, whether it's face-to-face, email, flyers being put up. I think it depends on your environment. And I think, Sandy, you sort of touched upon the different cultures. How do you word things so that it's understandable to everyone? We've always had sort of a rule, and maybe many of you have too, it's just writing at sort of a 6th grade level, so that you really can speak to a larger population. So it's a challenge. I think we're always trying to figure that piece out. So.
Absolutely.
And I
So
think
communication's a huge piece, right, and reaching out to our employees and whatnot. And I like that each work site here is representative of a different population, and we're being mindful of every work site is different, and a work site wellness plan is going to be different and implemented differently at every work site, right? It's not cookie cutter, so I just really want to emphasize that. Just real quick, going back to Tom, you said there's a committee structure, right?
Yes.
And so you are a recipient of the Massachusetts Working on Wellness program.
Right.
Great. And so can you just speak to a little bit of how you started the committee? Because I think that's a really important piece when you start a worksite wellness program. You need to bring together employees in a committee form and just chat about what they need and what they foresee the program being. So if you can speak to how that went about and who sits on the committee. I'm interested. I want to know who sits on it.
Okay. Well, we did apply for the WOW seed money to get our program started. And part of that was a lot of good instructions were given in the web presentations about how to go about structuring it. And what we did was we went out and sought people that were interested. We put it out on the table, and anyone that was interested in joining the committee, we brought in somebody from Human Resources. We have a program director. We're looking for someone from the union. We have the union person on the committee also now.
Great.
And we have the IT director ended up fitness person. He's on the committee, as well as I think they're still open to having other people on the committee. We're at such an early stage here.
Mm-hmm.
We are would be still in an open process to gather more people. People are interested. So that's where we are. We are at very initial stages. We're going to be doing an assessment, employee assessment of interest, which is just standard practice. A good way of getting a lot of good information and data on what people are looking for
Great.
in wellness. And so the committees, the people are enthusiastic. I did learn about, I get a kick out of it. I've heard about these cohorts in college. Has everybody heard about the cohorts? Have you ever been in a cohort?
I think so.
Oh, see, I've never been in a cohort. I was at that age where the cohorts were ignored. So I finally am in a cohort. I'm in the granola cohort. So it's like I'm really feeling millennial, but we're having a lot of fun with some of this stuff. And we have sponsors, and then we have champions, and the committee really is the champions. They're the ones that are going to be looking to engage the workforce in this process. And so I think we've gotten those roles clarified, and they are all appointed to the committee.
That's an important note, yep.
The executive director has through the appointment as a sponsor. It makes me sound like I'm important, right?
You're the co-host, you are important, that's right.
But I think they everybody is, they went to, they had a conference up in Worcester, I think, last week.
Yeah.
One of the people went up for that, and that was just to kind of get us immersed more in the networks of support that we'll have as we develop a strategy and plan for implementing a more comprehensive wellness program than what we have up to this point.
Great, no, thank you, that's exciting. I wanted to hear from Sue, but
Yeah,
really, I don't
so
know if you have
Sue, we talked about communications, and obviously one part of communications is, are you listening? And I think that gets to the idea of, you know, engagement, and no matter what you put out there, there's a certain population that is just not going to respond. They're not interested, and they're definitely not engaged. So Sue, I'd like to just ask you, in terms of your, you know, in terms of your communication and how you see, like, how you're challenged maybe by, or do you care? I mean, at some point, do we have to say, we can only worry about the people that want to do this and not worry about the people that aren't engaged? So would you?
I think that one of the things that really worked for us was getting that senior leadership endorsement. And so our wellness program started because our executive director said it was something she was interested in doing. And my background is as a registered nurse, so she reached out to me and said, would you help me with this? And that was kind of the start of it. But having that executive level support and endorsement makes a big, big difference. And I think that you have to be mindful that you're planting seeds. And so you're not always going to see that immediate success, and you have to look at how you're measuring success. So we've surveyed people and done the needs and interest survey. We too started out with the WOW incentive money. We were one of the first employers to go through the program. And we've gone from doing a needs and interest survey and saying to people, do you know about our program? And if you do you like it? And we had a fair percentage that said they didn't even know we had a wellness program. Whereas today, the last time we did a needs and interest survey, every employee said, yeah, I know you have a wellness program. So they know that it's there, they know it's available. And so when you look at that process of change, and we know that people spend long periods of time contemplating change and thinking about it, just knowing that all of our employees know we have a wellness program is a big step. That is a big measure of success. Not everybody is ready to lose weight. Not everybody's ready to start running marathons. Not everybody's ready to jump in for all of the medical screenings they should get. But if they know we have a wellness program and they know we're doing the activities, it opens the door for them to take advantage of it when they're ready.
It speaks to the culture of health, right? That we want to change it within the worksite, the culture in itself.
One of the things that we did too is, for our wellness program, when I first came on board in 2005, we asked our employees to help us name our wellness program. So, you know, they submitted different names, and then we sort of, you know, came up with a list of the names that employees submitted. At the time, we had over 1,000 employees that participated in that, which at the time was a big deal because they didn't really get that sort of feedback from surveys like that. And that's how we came up with Health Quest. So from the very beginning, we are asking for their input because it's their program. So we sort of took it from a different angle in addition to the different, we have a couple different levels of our wellness community as well.
That sounds like like having, you know, that ownership
Right.
is really,
That was the
you know,
intent.
important. Working for an insurance agency, everything in insurance is acronyms, and so when we wanted to name our program, and someone came up with the idea of HEART, which stands for helping each other achieve results together, I think. And so our newsletter, our wellness newsletter, became the Heartbeat, and so yeah, and it was fun. It was
Yeah, and
once
then you
again,
brand
it's
that,
fun to
too.
get.
When
So-
you brand your program, that's where the, you know, the additional buy-in comes into play. So,
Oh,
you know, our employees, if they hear Health Quest, they know it's our wellness program, so.
Questions?
Can I open it up to anyone for comments, or? questions. Siobhan?
Hi. So first of all, I'm so glad that some of you are involved in working on wellness. So very excited to hear a little bit about what you're actually doing and what stage you're in. So I was wondering, a lot of things that I've heard from employers who have shift workers is that it's hard to engage people in their second shift and third shift. And I was wondering if you had any experience with that and what suggestions you would give to other employers who are kind of trying to engage those employees as well.
It's a tricky one. It's really tricky. I mean, we've tried to do programs early in the morning or later on in the afternoon, and I think it's the second and third shift. I mean, we were doing at one time, biometric screening, so we were doing cholesterol and glucose and so forth. And so I would be going in at, 11 o'clock or staying until 11 o'clock. I think the problem is one of the barriers is really just to have the staff in order to have programs for the off shifts. It's that piece is always a challenge. It really is. And I don't know the answer.
And we've done when we've done some of our walking programs, we haven't made it a program that you have to walk during the workday. Certainly we've had people who did walk during the workday, but we relied on self-report, and we allowed people the flexibility to walk before they come to work, walk at night after work, walk with their family if they chose to, do things on the weekends. We've also done some of the programs, it's not just walking, but any activity, and we had a matrix that they could assign themselves points for what they achieved. So it is self-report, and so, we could get somebody that's saying, yeah, I walked 10 miles today, and they didn't. But by and large, yeah. No, definitely not. And there was some lessons along the way with doing that, because one of the very first walking things that we did, we were being accredited, so this is going back 8 years, and the accrediting body that serves us is in New York. So we did a program called the Walk to Wall Street. We were going to have everybody, we thought everybody's going to be stressed about accreditation, so walking is a great idea, and it was, I don't know, whatever many units it was that we were going to measure. And when we got to certain markers, people could win prizes. And we threw a lot of money at the prizes. And so back 8 years ago, one of the things we gave away was the GPS, which then was a big deal, right? Now we all have one in our phones, but at the time that was a big deal. And we had one person who came out and said that she was going to walk more than anybody else, and she was going to win the 4 big prizes for her family members for Christmas gifts. And she won 3 of the 4, and she walked like a crazy person, and we would see her walking everywhere, and she lost a lot of weight and really toned up, and she looked great. She won the 4 prizes, and I don't think I'm not sure she walks in the building. I think somebody might carry her in, but she totally stopped walking. The prize incented her, and so we learned the hard way that you've got to be mindful of how you incent people, and it can't just be about the prize, because in that instance it was. By the same token, we had another individual that walked through that program, and it started a wellness journey for her. She's lost over 100 pounds, and she now does triathlons. So it's planting that seed. She didn't do our walking program and go from nothing to running triathlons during that program, but it started something in her and moved her forward.
9 to 5 or no?
No, it's, most of our work is done from 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 8 o'clock the next morning.
Oh, wow.
So it's a residential program.
Oh, very interesting. Okay.
We have a day service site, but it's probably 12, 15 people that are working there. But everybody else is really working on the shift, so it's going to be interesting to figure that out about the self-reporting and the structuring the activities.
Christina, you have shifts, right, at your work site?
Well, basically, you just have a first shift. We do have a second shift, but it's a small second shift. The majority of the people do work first shift.
Michelle?
We have 3 shifts.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 3
So
shifts.
have you tried to tackle this in your work?
One of the things that we've done the last couple of years is we've done a wellness fair that we're able to get.
Shut down production,
Shut down
right?
production.
Yeah,
So we do it in our slow season, so we kind of get everyone engaged to come, and they're paid to participate, so they get paid to attend. It was well received. This past year, we were not able to fit in the wellness fair, and I had a lot of employees who were kind of disappointed in that. So looking forward to hopefully getting another one done this year. 2017. So what we did over the summer, because we couldn't have the wellness fair, is we had, we called it Wellness Wednesdays. So we found a topic and we kind of just ran with it. We did a farmer's market one day. We ended up doing, we named everything. So we had like Go Bananas, so we brought bananas in. I had, sheets about the benefits of, bananas and a recipe. We did apples, we did peaches. We did, because a lot of our employees are on their feet all day, so we kind of did this whole foot, taking care of your feet, wearing the proper footwear, so we try to reach everyone, and ESMR is taking on more of the wellness initiative, so every month we're trying to, freshen up everything and change things out and have a new topic. Like for October, we did the breast cancer awareness, and even though employees weren't incented to do it, they wore the pink because they knew that the company was going to donate $5 for every employee who, wore pink. And they would come in, they would come in before they go to the floor and say, I got my pink on. So those are kind of some of the things that we try to do to, keep all shifts
Is there any questions?
I don't have a question, but this was one of the things that we were concerned about. We don't have shift work, but all of our employees are done, well, most of them are done at 2:30, and our teachers and staff, our families, they have to go pick up their children. So we were trying to figure out when we applied for our WOW grant, how could we address, getting them physically active and stuff. So one of the things that we did apply for was to purchase a certain amount of Fitbits, so that they'll all be linked together to prevent that, people actually self-reporting, and then they'll be linked together through their emails, and they'll be able to see where people are tracking. Versus prizes, we'll have like, the bragging rights, so we have a board that we're getting ready to set up in our staff office, staff meeting, where, the leaders of the week or whatever challenges happen and such, so, it's nice to get that.
That's a great idea, yeah.
And one of the things we did to correct that moving forward, when we have had self-report programs, we've always tied another piece to it. So you can self-report that you ate these many fruits and vegetables, or you walked these many units, but in addition to that, in order to participate in the program, we've asked people to submit evidence that they completed one of the physical health screenings that they needed to have done. So proof that they had an annual physical, proof that they went to the dentist and had a cleaning. For women, proof that they had their mammogram. For our older gentlemen, proof that they had a PSA done. So we tie it to some sort of hard evidence so that it's not just, yeah, I did all of those things, give me my prize.
And that's the purpose of our Virgin Pulse platform too.
Yeah.
So our employees, all benefit eligible employees receive a Max device, which is Virgin Pulse's, style of a Fitbit. So they get that for free. They can wear it, or they can wear a Fitbit, and so that will capture that validated information, and that's where we tend to incentivize the most, is based on validation. They are. It's only a Virgin Pulse product though, but it's similar to like a Misfit. It's about $30, including which includes shipping and handling.
Yeah, and I think realistically, there's always going to be someone that finds a way around whatever you structure. I had a worker tell me about their husband where he works has a vigorous wellness program, and he took his fitness tracker and put it on the dog's collar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it just.
If he was walking the dog, that's okay.
Yeah, no. It's like one of these crazy hyper little dogs that like just runs around constantly. So he put the tracker on the dog so that he could register. So you just got to kind of. The reality is though that if you've got a wellness program and a walking program, and you're saying it's important that you walk these many steps, even the person that's cheating is still getting that information that it's important to do that activity. So it's kind of a way of measuring success.
Teachable moments. Go ahead, Dara. The program's been for 7 years, I think, and 5, is that, and just starting?
We're probably about 8
years.
or 9.
Okay, good. I was just wondering, at the end of the year, of people that are involved in the programs, and do you have, the data that you get from people involved in the program, do you have data at the end of the year how well they're you know, their biometrics are, or if, you know, their cholesterol maybe's gone down this amount, or are there any way to measure the success of the program?
Yeah, so we measure some of it through, again, it's through self-report, but through the needs and interest survey, we also ask people to rate their overall health, to rate how well they do with eating fruits and vegetables, how well they do with exercise, whether their blood pressure is high, low, or normal, whether their BMI is high, low, or normal. We have blood pressure monitoring devices in all of our work sites so that people can self-assess that way. So we do some of that on self-report. When we have targeted interventions, we then build in some sort of a measurable metric. So people who are walking, we try to use like fitness trackers or things like that. And then with some of our education campaigns, we'll do pre-testing to see what people's knowledge is and understanding. And then after the intervention, measure again. So we kind of measure in a lot of different ways.
I think one of the things that you bring up, Dara, is having an idea of what your goals are. And when you set up your wellness program for the year, when you have your committee together, when you do your needs and interests, and you choose, you know, what you want to focus on that year is to have to have 3 goals or whatever. So how we might measure success, you know, in Blount's case, it might be how many employees are qualifying for the reduced health insurance premiums, or maybe lower claims costs, whereas someone else might be how many of their employees actually feel like they're healthier today than yesterday. We've used something, and it's a free service, it's called Real Age, and it's actually taking a survey online and asks you all kinds of questions about your lifestyle and your health habits, and then it gives you like an age. So what we did is we actually asked our employees to voluntarily go on and take the Real Age survey and let us know what they came up with for a result if they wanted to share it. If they didn't want to, they didn't have to. But then we asked everyone to retake the Real Age survey again in 6 months to see if they were younger. So, but it does, and it's everything from like wearing a seatbelt to eating fruits and vegetables to exercising and so forth. So it's sort of, it helps to validate, I think, to the employees if they're doing something that they're on the right track, and hopefully want them to continue. And then from a corporate perspective, if you say we want to be at the end of a year, we want to be 5 years younger as a group, then that could be a goal of it, and it's a very general goal. Anyone else? Michelle?
So one of the other things we do as part of our wellness program is employees who are on our health insurance, they and their spouse have to have an annual exam done every year, and they certify that. If they don't have that done, it is $12.50 for the employee and $12.50 for the spouse for a week in their premium.
Being mindful that she's self-insured.
We're self-insured, so. And we've actually seen results. I mean, our claims are, not crazy. I mean, they're there. We actually had a very small increase this past year. So we're getting results out of that. We usually have about 85% participation, so it's well received. We do have, so the tobacco users, we are also, they're also being charged per week. It's $12.50 for the employee and $12.50 for the spouse. We're working on some smoking cessation programs. We've had some success. We've had a few people quit.
Quit works.
Quit smoking. So it's we go back and forth with it.
That's great.
Smoking is too, so we do.
Smoking is a sensitive issue, right?
It's not as sensitive as it used to be, but we do the same thing. We're self-insured, so we employees can earn the sort of a wellness incentive of $500 savings. It's a premium savings, and it's applied to the following year. And then they can earn a $200 savings as well, so $700 in total for tobacco cessation. And for that, we've really sort of taken out the financial barriers. So whether they're on our plan or not, we basically pay for them to go through a program, or cover the cost of, over-the-counter therapy.
Great.
I think too, one of the things that we learned early on through the WOW program was balancing your wellness program. So we all tend to want to do the activity things because they're fun, and we do a lot of those. But there also needs to be education, and then that policy and environment change. And that policy and environment, your activities are only good for however long they last. The education too, it's hard to measure what the impact of that was, but when you make changes in the environment or you make policy changes, they're more enduring, and what you basically try to do is to make the default choice the healthier choice. So whether it be charging a higher premium or establishing a no smoking policy, those are the kinds of things that are a little bit more difficult to do, they're not as much fun to do, but they have those more lasting impacts. So that's what we try to do, is to make sure that every year we at least do one activity program, one education program, and one form of policy and environment change.
That's good. So what we've heard is the importance of a wellness committee, forming that wellness committee, CEO buy-in, right? And then more importantly, just employee engagement and listening to your employees. So wellness usually falls within the HR human resource office. And I would challenge you to even think outside of that and think about, okay, how do I put this onto the employees and then engaging them, and so that they feel empowered in order to change the culture overall. So just being mindful of that. I'm just checking time, and I'm wondering if there's any more questions for our work sites. And if there is, that's fine. If not, we're gonna maybe do a potty break, bathroom break, and then
Children?
yeah, I do. And then we will do the resource panel after the break. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Yeah, I was wondering if you guys could talk about how to increase employee participation. I know you talked about incentives, but that's kind of a tricky thing, because you don't want it to be all these free giveaways. So I find that if we don't have incentives, then we don't really get much participation. So I was hoping you guys could just touch on that.
There's definitely a fine line, and I tend to be more of a stickler. I don't like to incentivize everything because people then expect that. I never give them what they always want. And I'm sort of not mean about it, but I think it's important that they learn how to empower themselves and get themselves engaged, and because I do think that's going to be a longer lasting effect than the incentives, because if there's ever a point in your programs that you don't have the money to incentivize, then you're sort of setting yourself up to fail. And that's why, I think, Sue, you mentioned it, just pushing it back on the employees to own that program themselves. And, I think that there's easy ways to incentivize that aren't going to cost you a lot of money. For us, a 200-point voucher from Virgin Pulse that we hand out is, basically like giving them money. So that excites them, even though it's just a piece of paper, or a pen. I don't think it has to be a big ticket item.
I mean, we do the fruit and.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They love apples. Like, really, it's not. You just don't want to mold them to they always expect an incentive. I don't think everyone should get a medal. So I'm sort of old-fashioned.
Well, and
like that.
making it their own will
Right.
build their confidence level.
Right.
And then more importantly, I don't know if anybody's talked about recognition, right?
Yeah.
So be mindful of recognition in order to recognize those employees that are doing.
Yeah, we do, we'll have a Health Quest recognition award, so employees can nominate their coworkers that have made some, healthy changes. So we only award 4 per year, up to 4. So they have to meet our strict criteria. But that's, again, I don't like to give everyone a medal. I think you have to work for it, so we do recognize it.
Keeping things fun, I think, is
Oh
really
my God,
important.
yeah.
So
We
like
love fun.
we did a water challenge, and what we did is first we educated employees about how much water they should be drinking. We put signs up by the water coolers in our office, and we gave everyone a sheet to sort of by their weight, check out how many you know, blessed they should have it, was like a self-reporting thing, but at the end, we asked whoever sent it in, whoever met the challenge, we had like, yeah, a water bottle, we had a water balloons, like we did like sort of like, so like not very, very small stuff, but something that sort of tied into the theme and was fun, and we could, once again, give recognition, give a little $2 or $5, you know, reward, and sort of, okay, what are we doing next month, you know, so I think that's part of like just keeping it fun, and you're not gonna get, everyone's not gonna do every single thing that you do, because they might not, you know, they might not be, you know, gravitating towards a walking challenge or a weight challenge, and maybe they don't want to quit smoking, but, you know, they, like, just like looking at all the ways of our lives that we could improve our health and wellness, and finding things every month maybe to bring out and engage people that way by the variety might work.
And I think too how you measured that, so, first of all, that needs an interest survey and finding out what people want, where are they interested, because you could look at your reports from your health insurance and see how many people have got issues related to diabetes or arthritis or muscular things, and say, oh, we have to do a weight loss program, or we need to do an exercise program, but you have to survey people and find out where they're at and what they want. And then the other piece is the activity things are the fun part, but the education and that policy and environment change. So if you did a cardiac health program and you posted things in your Worksite where everyone's going to see them about heart health and why it matters, and you have access to materials, everyone's going to see that poster. So everyone has to participate. It's impossible not to. So just, you know, how you're measuring that participation. It's not always about those activity things.
And Tom, have you had any challenges with participation, or how do you overcome some of those within the?
Well, I'm really very interested in hearing all of this, because it's like getting into a boat that you're not rowing by yourself.
Yeah.
And participation, we have had challenges. We had our diabetes program. I was hoping that we'd have just the information that I received. I went through the program myself to learn about diabetes, and I was expecting a larger level of participation, because we actually paid for the whole course for any employees, and it included a YMCA membership, an annual membership of the Y, which I thought people would jump on board with, and it was interesting, and I think people initially got started, and then kind of some of them dropped out a little bit. But I was a little bit, I'm intrigued with this idea of how can we get people more engaged in the process of wellness.
But that little bit of incentive, that little push is always needed. And that's going to come from the overall culture of the business and the CEO. And so the fact that you have bought into the wellness is already opened that door for them.
Yeah, I'm the CEO. I have to agree with my colleague here about, I'm very frugal about cash incentives. I'm an executive director. So I really like the idea of a pen and a balloon or whatever. I'm sure my committee's going to be thrilled to hear those ideas they come back.
And I think you hit on it too, like you just have to make it fun. You know, I'll do sort of zany things, and I think that's for that face-to-face time, because it's difficult. I've always thought that wellness and religion are similar in ways. It's very hard to sell wellness because it looks much like religion. It looks very different from one person to the other. So that's sort of always something that I keep in mind. I'll do fun things. I found that I had a real skill with a glue gun and plastic fruit. So we'd have like a fruit quest, and I would, you know, I had this hat with glued on fruit. You can borrow it sometime. Thanks. And that became part of it, and people love that. They're like, oh, where's your fruit hat? Like, just the benefits fair. I had to bring one of my props with me. It was a wig. It was my flow wig. Anyway, but just making it fun, and you can have more clinically based programs like diabetes prevention, but I think you know, maybe balance it out more with something that's more fun. You know, on-site classes or nutrition classes or, you know, exercise, just to have a little bit more of a variety. Speak
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take a bathroom break, and I just want to really thank the Worksites for sharing your thoughts, ideas, and best practices. So,
Thank you. So if we could be back in about 5 minutes, that would be super helpful. Thank you.